Hi friends, it's Mari here for the Vicki Boutin design team. I have a project here for you today using tons of texture. I'm going to be starting off my project today with a piece of the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper and some of Vicki's art crayons. And here you can just see what I'm going for a color scheme is kind of some fall colors, oranges and reds and browns, just kind of trying to create a really pretty fall palette for my project today. So I've just taken those crayons, I've scribbled them out on a piece of packaging, and I'm just getting some water mixed into those crayons with my spritzer, my water spritzer, and a little bit of water from my watercolor brush here, and just going to work those together until I'm happy with the hue that I achieve by mixing those different colors. I'm even mixing in a little bit of black to create a little bit of brown. And when I'm finished here, I'm going to be applying a bunch of different colors to this foundations paper, and lots of it's going to get covered up, and that's just fine because I am going to build my layers on top of this background. And so that's exactly what's going to happen is some of the little elements that I create here are going to peek out around the different areas of the mixed media that I'm creating. So I put some water onto that foundations paper, and then I drop some of the pigment into it. If I get pigment where I don't want it or the color's too strong, I just go in with a baby wipe and pick that up, or some paper towel. And I'm just going to continue that process until I have a base of mixed media here, some color on this foundations paper to build the rest of the layout. And I will go in and dry the layers between adding different colors. So here you can just see I'm going to add just the orange now instead of the brown, and just continuing to create that little bit of mixed media over to the side. And what I really wanted to do here was build the layout from right to left, which isn't intuitive for me. I usually work from left to right, which it just works in my brain. That's kind of what I usually just do. But I just wanted to try something different here today and work from the opposite side of the paper. And you can just see here, as I add a color, I also add splatters of that color before I mix up another color on that acetate, and just making sure that I'm drying between the different colors that I'm adding. I also wanted to add some splatters, so you can just see that I'm squeezing all of that pigment out of the brush to create some splatters on the project as well. And this is going to be quite subtle. It's not going to be a bold mixed media background, but that's kind of what I tend to lean towards. Oftentimes my colors aren't extremely bold when it comes to the mixed media that I add to my background. And here you can just see those splatters are dry now. And what I really love about the mixed media paper, the foundations paper, so much is that it can take quite a bit of water, not too much, and it will buckle a little bit. But what I do find is if you add just the appropriate amount of water that you need, it does withstand without having to add a bunch of gesso. So I do really like that. I'm adding a little bit of teal now because I wanted to incorporate a little bit of blue into my project, and I just really love that addition. I think it just adds just a little bit of something extra, and I will go ahead and add those splatters with that as well. So just having a lot of fun creating this background, just really being free with the color and just enjoying the process. This is one of my favorite things to do with making a layout, is just getting out the materials, the different things that I have in my stash, and just messing around with them. So this is Vicki's Gold Glaze. I love this stuff. It is fantastic. And I'm just taking my Vicki Boutin spatula here, and I'm going through a Vicki Boutin stencil. I'm not sure which collection this was from, maybe Color Study, I'm not sure, but I just have all of my Vicki Boutin stencils together. And I love that Vicki has so many circle stencils, which just are, I love that shape for almost any layout. And so here you can just see that I'm using that same kind of sunburst pinwheel kind of shape for 3 different areas of glaze. And now I'm just adding some water to that glaze as well, so that I can splatter that onto the mixed media area as well. So just a combination of some texture from the glaze, the the drops and drips and splatters and colors. It just creates this really nice layer of background for what I wanted to do with the rest of the layout. So here you can just see, I'm just going to splatter away with that gold. The nice thing about adding the liquid, the water to the glaze is it is a little bit dimensional because it is a fairly viscous product. You do get quite a nice little dimensional splatter when you add that onto your project. So I really like that a lot. Now I am going to be using Vicki's metallic pigment inks here. I'm going to use the gold, and what I wanted to do is take a kind of like a distress stamp from my stash. This is from 49 and Market. It's the In the Leaves stamp, or the stamp that came out with that collection, and it's just got all kinds of really fun marks on it. There's some scripty writing, there's some butterflies, there's some foliage, there's some postage stamps. It's just a really fun stamp, and I've left the backing on the stamp. The plastic packaging is left on there, and I've just inked it up with a little bit of the gold, and I'm just going to make some marks here and there on the project just to add another layer onto that mixed media background. So I'm just trying to mix up where I'm adding the ink to the project. I will link up to this stamp, by the way. It is a really fun stamp, and I did pick this up at scrapbook.com, so I will make sure that I link to that stamp, and I will also link to the other products that I'm using from Vicki's collection as well. And here you can just see I'm just having fun adding those different little marks on the layout with that stamp. It's subtle, but it just looks really nice. This is one of the papers from Color Study. I will link to this paper as well in the description box below. I also am using that black paper with the scripty writing on it. I love that paper so much. Again, I will link to that in the description box. These are leaves that were cut from Vicki's free cut file at vickiboutin.com. I will link to that as well. Make sure you check out the description box. There will be lots of cool links. I have cut those on my silhouette, and I have stitched through them and added some Tim Holtz mica sprays. I also fussy cut the butterflies from one of the Fernwood papers. I want to say that paper is called Hello Friends or something like that, but I will link as well. Love that paper so much. You can get so much out of that paper because when you fussy cut those butterflies, you have tons of embellishments. Now, my idea was to put those 2 strips of torn paper over to the right side. Again, remember, building from the right to the left. I'm going to add the different colors of leaves, just varying them so that there's a pattern of the colors yellow, green, orange, blue. Yellow, green, orange, blue from bottom to top or top to bottom. And then I'm going to just layer the butterflies over top of that. So right now, all I'm doing is just visualizing what I want this project to look like, where I want everything to go. And you can just see that the mixed media is just going to poke out around these other elements that are being layered on top. So the idea of the mixed media is just, it's going to be the base layer, and you're just going to continue to layer, and some of it will get covered, and that's okay. And you just have to be okay with that. Now I'm taking some Gina K, I think this is Tranquil Teal ink, and I just wanted to edge some of my different bits. I'm going to edge the butterflies with a little bit of this dye ink and use those as layered embellishments over top of the area where I have the leaves and such. So just vertically going from top to bottom with those butterflies just to create that little bit of extra zhuzh to the layout. So I'm just going to finish up that inking of those edges, and just going to finish up with this one last little butterfly here. I tried to choose butterflies that were complementary to the colors of the leaves. And there you can see that I tried to match up a green butterfly with a green leaf and so on and so forth. Now I'm just going to add some white splatter with some Dina Wakley gloss spray, and just taking a small paintbrush from my stash just to add some fine splatter. And the nice thing too with this brush is I can just dip it into the white paint and drip if I want to as well. Excuse me, rather than splattering, and that leaves a nice effect too. So I end up with some fairly large drips on here in white and just some nice fine splatter as well. Friends, be sure to check out Vicki Boutin in all of the different places where you can find Vicki's inspiration. I will leave links to the Vicki Boutin Facebook group and so on in the description box below. Vicki does a Friday night live almost every Friday in her Facebook community where she offers free inspiration just using all kinds of different products, mostly from her collections, but she also uses a few other inks and that kind of thing as well to show you how to use your stash. Love that inspiration that Vicki offers. So make sure you check the links to where you can find Vicki in social media as well. Here you can just see that I am adding a bit of, a photograph. I'm adding a little bit of foam adhesive to the back of the photo to some pattern paper. Again, that's that same black scripty pattern paper that I've used on the right. And now I'm taking another piece, this one again from Color Study. I'm just going to trim out a little bit of that paper and use that as a mat for my photograph here. Just wanted to do a little bit of paper tearing at the bottom there to add a little bit of distressed look to those layers for that photo. This photo is printed at 3.5 by 2.5, I believe, so not quite 4 by 3. And it is a vertical photo, which does match up with the orientation of the layout nicely. And you can just see that it's a picture of leaves in the fall and just kind of going for that look. I also printed out a quote from Virginia Woolf about fall, and I will be adding that to the project, probably above in the strips. I didn't add that to the layout before I photographed it. It was just kind of an afterthought, but there's tons of room on this layout for journaling, so that if you want to add a title and some journaling to this design, if you try this, there's tons of space above and below the area where you can put the photo and add that detail. So again, just adding a little bit of ink blending. Now I'm using a little bit of the Color Study chipboard. I love this piece here. It says "Love This." Again, that circular shape, I think that's perfect for the photo mat area. And I'm going to pop that up on a little bit of foam adhesive and add that to the corner of my photo. Just getting the photo adhered down to an area where I want to put it. I will use a little bit of liquid adhesive behind that photo later. I'm just going for just a rough placement right now. So just put a little bit of that tape runner, and now I'm just going to take a little bit of foam adhesive and pop up that chipboard piece and add that to the bottom right corner of that photo, just kind of overlapping the leaves a little bit. Just love that extra little bit of layering and detail for my layout. And that's really going to finish this off. I'm going to give you a little bit of a close-up here in a minute, and I've also included some still shots at the end of the video if you want to see some really close-up shots of the layout. And I really like how this one turned out. There's so much texture, and that's really what I was going for here. Lots of layers, lots of texture, just to kind of really make the layout have lots of dimension in that way. Here I'm just adding one of the cardstock stickers from the Color Study cardstock stickers. This one says "Life Captured." It's just a really great color for the color scheme that I was going for here today. It's kind of a nice generic sentiment as well on that sticker, and so that just finishes it off perfectly. And I love how this turned out. Love all of that texture so much. Be sure that you check out the still shots that I have left here at the end of the video, where you can see close up all of the details for this project. Have an amazing day, my friends. Stay safe, stay well, and I will see you soon with more Vicki Boutin inspiration. Bye-bye.